What's up guys, Ryan here from MudGunner. Today I'm going to show you how to disassemble the 1911. And don't worry, if you have a captured guide rod assembly, I got you too. So we have two 1911s here. We're going to disassemble and reassemble, and I'll show you what's kind of different about them. Okay guys, so once again we're going to start with the traditional 1911, and if you're wondering what the difference is, this one has an easier to disassemble spring assembly, where this one right here, it's all captured, so you have to use a special tool to get that out. But again, this video is going to help both of you guys with that. So let's start with the traditional one. So with this, you have a couple options. Make sure it's clear again, which it is. You can either use a 1911 disassembly tool, which is just a piece of plastic. You can use a traditional mag, which this isn't traditional, but you could push down and move it over, or you can use your finger. I tend to just use my finger, but what we're gonna do is you can put it on safe just so the slide's not moving while you're pressing it, but you just press right here, and you're gonna move this to your left, or at least my left here, and then you're gonna slide this over to the left. Now this is under a lot of spring tension, so just make sure you have control of it so it doesn't shoot out at your face. But once you do that, now all the spring tension's out. You can take your little cup off here. Sometimes your spring is attached, but this one comes right off. And then from this point, there's not gonna be any spring tension when you take this apart, so we can push the safety down, and you're gonna pull the slide back to this notch, lining up right there. So we're gonna pull that back till it lines up right there, and then you're gonna push this pin out that side, and it pops right out. There you go. And then now your slide will slide forward. So we're going to push this forward and then just kind of hold it so nothing falls out. So there's your frame, and here's your slide assembly. So this is your recoil spring guide rod. And then with barrels, they don't come out like a normal pistol. You actually have to slide them forward. But before we do that, you have to take the retaining cup here out. So we're going to move this over to the right now, and it'll pop out of place. So that comes out the front. And then with your barrel, just move this ring forward, and then now your barrel will come out the front. And that's basically the whole disassembly for the 1911. You don't have to take it down any further to clean. So we're going to move that out of the way for now, and we're going to work on the next one. So with this, again, it's not a traditional style recoil assembly because you have just a solid guide rod here that's kind of all one unit. So there's not an easy way to take it apart. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to lock the slide back, and there are special tools for this, but I don't own any. But what we do have is a paper clip here. So most people have a paper clip at home. If you don't, go find something similar. But we're going to bend this open, and then we're going to make a slight bend right here. So just like that. And then what we're going to do, and this is kind of weird with these 1911s. It's not my favorite design. I'm sure there's a specific reason for it. But what we're going to do is pop this in there, which I kind of made it too long. So once you have that in there, now you're going to let the slide forward. And again, I know it's kind of weird, but just trust me on this. Let it forward gently. Don't slam it forward so it doesn't break the paper clip. But we're going to let it forward. And then you're going to push your slide right here. And same thing. So that's kind of captured right there. You're going to pop this pin out the same way. Push it out. And then now you're going to push the slide off. So you see your assembly is all right there. And then one thing I should have caught beforehand, you got to make sure that you still have some space to pull it out the back here. So I got to actually push that in just slightly. Let me use this plastic tool here. Don't want to push it all the way out, but just going to push it back in just a little bit. So now this will come out the back. So again, this is kind of a weird design, but I'm just going to pull this out. Take my paper clip with me. So there is your captured assembly. Now, if this ended up coming out, it's going to be kind of a pain to get it back in there, but it is doable. But this is just all one captured unit, unlike this assembly where it all comes apart pretty easily. So again, I kind of prefer this assembly, but both work. And then the rest is all the same. And specifically with this TRP operator by Springfield, there is no barrel retention nut here, so it just pops out the front. But that's the whole disassembly of this gun, and now we'll put it back together. So put the barrel in, and then we're gonna put this spring back in. So just do it in the same order. So I'm gonna slide that in there, and then just make sure this groove right there is lined up on the barrel. So I'm going to turn it around. Now it's on the barrel. And for the most part, this is where everyone has an easy time doing it, but getting it back together, we don't want to scratch the frame with this piece right here, your slide lock. That creates what's called the idiot scratch on a 1911, where someone is just pushing this really hard and scratching it. I'm going to show you guys an example. It's not a bad one. Now, I haven't done this to my guns, but I have an example right here of kind of what it is. So it's this scratch right here that people put in their guns. Now, this one is on a World War I 1911 by Colt. This was made in 1918, and I'm going to forgive whoever did it because they are a hero to me. But yeah, this is a pretty cool US Army 1911. It's all original, and I should probably shoot it on the channel at some point. But yeah, don't scratch right there on your nice 1911s. If you have a cheap one and you don't care, go for it. But I really try to keep my 1911s scratch free. So we're going to put this back on, but putting your slide lock back in can be kind of a hassle. So with this, should have showed you, with this you have to make sure this ring lines up with the holes in your frame right here, because this pin is going to go all the way through it. And I'm going to try to show you guys as best as I can, but it might be a little tough on camera. But I'm going to pull this back until I see that ring in there, just little bit by little bit. So right there, now it's back about where I need it. Pull just a little bit more. This one's a little bit more stiff, but so now the ring is right in the middle. I should be able to drop this pin right through. Now that this pin is through, I still have to line up this notch right there to push this in. But this detent is under some spring tension. Now, some 1911s are easier than others. This one specifically is actually kind of a pain. So there's a couple options that we can do here. I'm going to just use this thin Costco membership card. It's the executive member. And we're going to push that in when we're trying to line this up, and we're going to see if that works. But if not, I will use something else. So we're going to pull this back right there. And what's nice is this is still captured under spring tension, so you're not fighting the slide to go forward. But what you are going to fight is that little detent to not scratch it up, because you don't want to just push and slide it up. It'll work, but again, it's going to scratch your frame right here. So I'm going to try to do this as nicely as I can. Trying to get the best angle. So I'm basically holding my index finger under here. I'm going to push down with my thumb right here and see if I can get it on there without scratching. And also you want to not go up the slide either, because that'll scratch it. If I scratch my slide trying to make this video, I'm going to be kind of sad, but I've avoided it for the longest time. But yeah, this detent specifically is just under an immense amount of spring tension. So let me try my Costco card and see if I can press that in. I'm going to have to set this down. May not get you guys the best view of this because I'm trying to be gentle. There we go. So I know it's not the best view, but I just pushed it straight down while applying pressure with my Costco membership. So they are good for more than just great deals. But you see, no scratches. It's not very conventional, but it works for me. If someone has a better idea, let me know, but that's kind of the best thing that I have that's not an actual like 1911 tool. So now we can push this forward. I actually forgot, we actually have to pull it back because we have to let that go. So we're gonna pull this back and we're gonna lock it. And now that spring tension is released, so we can just pop this out. There we go. So now this TRP operator is fully back together. And yeah, this is a pretty nice gun. It is a Chris Kyle edition TRP operator. It's number 243 of 1,000. So if you own nice 1911s, you want to try to keep them as clean as you can. Mine's all oily right now, but yeah, no scratches on there. Now let's get the SIG back together. So it's all the same. It's actually easier because I won't need this paper clip. I might need the Costco membership. But get all our parts, and then we're going to put the barrel in first. Then we're going to put this piece in. So you'll notice there is an indent on there. We're going to do indent in, which is kind of facing the right side of the slide if you're looking at it normal, but then we're going to move it to the left. Because then your barrel is captured, and then you're going to have room to get your part back in there. So once that's in, with this, we're going to put our spring back on. So this is basically the same on both sides, doesn't matter which way I put it in. And this will hold that in place. I'm going to slide it in here. And then, again, this curved part is going to be on your barrel, just like that. So just kind of hold it in place so it doesn't fall out. And then with this, if you do it kind of sideways or upside down, it'll prevent it from falling out. But I'm going to put this on sideways. Same thing, we're going to line up until I see that ring, which I think I just passed it. Yeah, so I got to slide this forward. So keep that ring where I can see it. Just moving a little bit. All right, so right there I can see it. Put our slide lock back in. And then same thing, I have to pull this back so that that indent lines up with this square cut right here. And right here I can push my slide lock back in. Now this one I believe was easier than my TRP operator. Let's see. Yeah. So I remember this one being easy, but not all 1911s are pretty easy. So we're just going to pop that in. And there we go. So now with this, your spring is kind of loose here. I'm going to push it forward and put my safety on so that when I put this back in, it's not trying to pull the slide back. So we're going to push this back in. Again, watch your face. If you let it slip, it's going to shoot forward, but just push this in. And then you're going to turn this over it. And right there, it is captured. Still wouldn't want to risk my face right there, but I'm going to just push down with my finger and slide it over. And there you go. Now it's captured. Take the safety off. Feels slick. Function check. Everything works good. But that is how you take apart and reassemble the 1911, whether you have the traditional guide rod assembly or the captured. And again, we just got to give some admiration to this World War I 1911 made in 1918. Still got the US property marks. It's pretty nice 1911. And yeah, we'll probably shoot it on the channel for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for my next video.